Let's take a look at your answers to those opening questions in your thought primer. The first question I asked you was this, if it's true that no CR students are weirdos, and it's also true that all CR teachers are weirdos, then would it have to be true that no CR teachers are CR students? And the answer is yes. Okay? There's no way for it to be, the statement no CR teachers or CR students is false. There's no way for it to be false if these first two statements are true, because if it were false that no CR teachers are CR students, then that means there's at least one CR teacher who's a CR student. And because the second statement here asserts that all CR teachers are weirdos, that one teacher who's also a student would by definition be a weirdo as well. But the first statement tells us that no CR students are weirdos. So we have a contradiction here. So there's no way that the conclusion can be false without creating a contradiction with one of the premises. That means that if the premises are true, and that's a big if the premises are true, then the conclusion by logical necessity will also be true. And what we could do is we could take these three statements and we could present them as premises and a conclusion in an argument. And because we just determined that there's no way for the conclusion statement to be false when the premise statements are true, it's a valid argument. Now take a look at this. Take a look at these statements. If it's true that all dogs are mammals, and it's also true that all four-legged creatures are dogs, then would it also have to be true that all four-legged creatures are mammals? And the answer again is yeah. Okay, now we know this second statement is false. It is not the case that all four-legged creatures are dogs. We've got horses and giraffes and elephants and so on and so forth. But the question is, what if we work from the assumption that these first two statements are true? Is there any way the conclusion statement could be false? And the answer is no. Because if all the four-legged creatures that exist are dogs, and all those dogs are mammals, then it has to be the case that all four-legged creatures are also mammal. Okay, so again, we can take these statements and we can present them as premises and conclusion in an argument, and we know we have a valid argument. If we assume the premises are true, the conclusion will also be true, okay? Now, when we're examining arguments for validity, we're not concerned at all with whether or not the premise statements are actually true. We work from the assumption that they're true because we're trying to test the form of the argument, not its content. All right, now take a look at the third question I asked you. If it's true that all people identical to Kim Kardashian are egomaniacs, and if it's true that all TV personalities are egomaniacs, then would it also have to be true that all people identical to Kim Kardashian are TV personalities? The answer to this one is no. It's possible that conclusion could be false even if we assume the premises are true, or even when we assume the premises are true. And you'll see this with a similar kind of argument that has different content but the same form. Okay, if it's true that all people identical to you are CR students, and if it's true that all students enrolled in the CR nursing program are CR students, then would it also have to be true that all people identical to you are students enrolled in the CR nursing program? Okay. Now, there may be one or two of you in our class who are, in fact, enrolled in the CR nursing program, and this conclusion statement truly reflects reality for you. But you can also imagine, even if it does, that for many others in the class, it doesn't. So we can see that even when we assume these two statements are true, there's a way for the conclusion statement to be false. Maybe it's true, maybe it's false. It kind of depends on who you are. So we go back to our argument about Kim Kardashian, and we put this in the form of an argument again, and we can see that it's an invalid argument because we just saw that when we substitute out different content into this form of argument, we get a conclusion that may be true, may be false. And if it's possible for the conclusion to be false, you got an invalid argument. All right, now take a look at this one. Or I think this is the fourth question I asked you. If it's true that all Humboldt County residents are kooky people, and it's also true that some Humboldt County residents are wackadoos, then would it also have to be true that some wackadoos are kooky people? And the answer is yeah, because if all Humboldt County residents are kooky people and some of those same residents are wackadoos, that means there's some wackadoos who are kooky people. So again, we've got a couple of statements that we can present as premises and a conclusion, and we know this is a valid argument because there's no way for the conclusion to be false when we assume the premises are true. All right, last one. If it's true that some unicycle riders are talented people, and if it's true that some talented people are athletic people, would it also have to be true that some athletic people are unicycle riders? And the answer is no. right? Maybe there is. Maybe there are some athletic people who are unicycle riders, but we don't know that there's any overlap between these groups. Maybe we have a bunch of unicycle riders that are over there, and they're talented people, and then we have some talented people over here who are not unicycle riders, but who are athletic people. We don't know that there's any common membership between these two groups of people. We just know that we've got some talented people who do different kinds of things that make them talented. And what that tells us is that if we put this into the form of an argument, it's an invalid argument, because we can think of ways the conclusion statement could be false even when we work from the assumption that the premises are true. Okay, so do you see where we're going? We're going to start dealing with more interesting arguments, because we're going to deal with arguments that have two premises, and you'll be surprised how much of a difference that makes in terms of the complexity and interesting quality of the arguments we make.